Hello everyone, today we are going to do a reading on Harry. So I didn't know he was having his court case yesterday. Was it yesterday that it was the actual outcome, or is it just hit the news? And then he must have taken straight away, I believe, for an interview, which I don't recommend he does, especially when he loses. Even anyone that loses, but him especially on this case, which is to do with him having security all the time in the UK, him and his family. I've covered this before, where they granted him bespoke security, where if he needs it, he just applies for it, it should be granted. And also anytime he's invited, he'll have the security. And I think that is very fair, you know. The thing with these two is that, and if you see my videos, I'm very fair. Like a lot of channel, what do you call it? People on YouTube that have channels really go at them. But I think, you know, I always said that this is very fair, so I don't know what he's moaning at. I think he's also made comments that he puts himself more at risk than the risk he was at without saying such comments. And I can imagine him doing that in this interview. I started to watch the interview, and what I did is I was like, should I or shouldn't I? Like, because I want to do this reading. So you can say more or less, I think it's like 31 minutes. If that's the full interview. I've got the one from BBC. I mean, does anyone know, did he finish the courts and then he contacted BBC while he was there, or he finished the courts and he was invited for the interview? It must have been set up some way, right? That regardless of the outcome, will you chat to us? And it's in person, so was it done for BBC in the UK, or was there someone in BBC over there? But he couldn't have travelled straight away, so I'm a bit confused with that. But if anyone knows, it would be great. So I watched, like, in total half of it, 15 minutes, and I skimmed past some stuff just because I'm going to do this reading. I know that most of you would have seen that, and that's why it was like it's not like I'm going to do an energy reading on the interview, but I just see that he said some stuff that are very inappropriate, stuff that he says, I can't really speak about this. He masks it, but then he throws daggers and stuff that is uncalled for to say. And I'm glad they had 3 judges. Now, I am really an advocate that the system is corrupt. Like, if you fall off your pedestal, even of a job or something, you're not supported. Like, okay, you get benefits, but the benefits are very low for what you pay as a taxpayer. And in addition, if you get weakened during that time by anything, like, it's a constant hit until you actually do lose it, and you either end up taking stuff to escape, or you end up being in horrible situations. And there's Harry and Meghan and his kids in California asking for us to pay for his full-time security, and there's people that have probably worked all their lives struggling to have food, struggling to have a roof, and don't have a roof. I mean, it's just ridiculous. One of the questions I was actually going to ask is, did he pay for his representative, or did the taxpayers have to pay? Sometimes when you lose a case, you have to pay, but initially it's paid for, or something like that. And I wonder about that. I presume Meghan didn't come, obviously, with him. But also, I would say, go back to my reading in where I covered the royal family for May, June, July. I think it might have been a few weeks ago or a month ago. I said about Charles having a major betrayal, and it could be this, it doesn't have to be, and some other things that are ringing through, like he was in a state of immaturity and Meghan was seeing him as a child. I'm going to see how she sees him right now, or how is she after this interview, or how she's supporting him, or after this outcome. But there's 3 judges. So where I was getting at is that he's stating that there's a lot of like institutional influence, although they can't be the decision maker. And I think when it's so high profile like this, they are not gonna corrupt or F around. And I'm not talking about the institution, I'm talking about, like I said, the government, the system that is corrupt and does not support. Where you don't have a voice, that's where your risk is. And I've had a court case with owed money, return rent money, that's gone on for 6 years, and they're in the wrong because they never turned up to the court hearing. They struck it out even though I was there, and they said it was because of lower staff at COVID, and in the end they gaslighted even the ombudsman. So you do get gaslighted, and the system is not fair. A disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. But when you have 3 judges on a very high profile case and a framework, and a case like this, they are not going to F around. And to be honest, even before this appeal for it, I thought what was presented to him was very, very fair. What really pees me off with these 2 is that they don't want to be part of the royal family. They call it an institution, as if like, I feel like the meaning behind the way they say institution is like, it's like you go into this institution and it's like culty. Like I don't see it like, you know, where they say further education institutions or etc. They seem to, this is the energy I get, I could be wrong, like it's very culty, it's very restrictive, etc. Now, if you look at his interview, he says about, you know, part of the royal family, things you can't do, you can't express, etc. Well, now you're not part of the royal family. You said you're not part of the royal family, you're off duty. One thing you've always mentioned is you can't show emotions, etc. You're free to show emotions. So why aren't you showing emotions if that's the case? You're free to be honest and genuine. What I saw in that interview, I've not seen it all, is very contradictory. There's a bit of manipulation. He says that even though my dad could influence because his assistant or someone works in the framework that's assessing or whatever, he says he can't be part of the decision making. And then towards the end, where I skimmed a bit, it might not be the end of the interview, I catch it again, and he says he could have influenced the decision. So he comes across quite calm and collected, but he's very nervous. He's very stressed at certain questions that I saw, although you won't be able to see it to the average human. One of the questions he's very stressed about was his father's health, and I don't think that comment was, he had to make that comment about, we don't know how long my father has to live because of his health. When he was asked, though, I'm going to be fair here, he was asked, because usually a royal family don't like to state stuff like that, and he knows that. And then manipulative was, he was like, what about the royal family won't see your children? He was like, it's something about, I can't put them through that risk, my wife or the grandchildren of my father, as opposed to my children. Again, a bit of manipulation. It's funny because I was going to do a reading on William and Princess Kate yesterday, and I saw this and I thought I was feeling Harry's energy a lot. And I did say in the royal predictions that he's focused on this project, there's some money involved, etc. And it could be this, it could well be this. I don't think Harry's going to zip it. I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to speak. And I don't know why they still have these titles, which in the next part, I'm going to quickly look at Meghan, because I'll get to that in a moment. So today we're going to look at the loss that he has done and how he's feeling. But he's put himself in this, but he can't see that he's put himself in it. It's like, you know, and I was wondering what Diana would think of this. I was like, I wonder if I can channel her. I know a lot of people channel Diana, but I feel like some people that channel her, and this is no disrespect, are not fully connecting. They're stating what they believe, okay? I've always said these two want it their way, so they want to be in, they want to be out, which was the example of, I've seen clips come up on my video YouTube, and I didn't see this part of the interview, that he wants reconciliation with the family. So he's saying all this, but then he must have said in some way, form, he wants reconciliation with the family, or he was asked and he said, yes, I would. Does he have to pay something at this stage? I think it's very fair what he's got. You know, you want to come to the UK, apply for the security, and then if you're rejected, fine. And then something he said was, they did this to try and keep us in the UK part of the institution. I don't think anyone's going to be thinking about it that way. If you're Prince William, maybe, because maybe they would have seen that there's a big risk with him coming into power instead of William, and so they might try to do it through security. But I don't think if you have your minds up to move somewhere, you're going to be thinking about the security when you come back, because you'll think, well, I've got enough money every time I do want to visit, and I don't plan to visit for long anyway. I can get bodyguards, and if not, they want a cake, and they want the cupcakes around it, the icing, they want their toes in it, they want the titles. You know, a few months ago, there was an astrologist who, sometimes she's good, but when I've seen her videos, she said it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that, when she's doing cases. But what came up was a reading, I think, on Meghan, and she's always referring to her in the titles as Her Highness the Duchess. And I'm like, will you get over your effing self, you and her? It's just like she gives her this respect. And I think what I saw from the interview, even if you're not a royal family fan, he is more at risk of coming, when he comes to the UK, of people just being pissed of what he's said even more now. I think he's put himself in a bigger risk just of people that would be pissed, because there's a lot of disloyalty, and I don't think we like that in the UK, and I think he's put it really out there. And he references the book, which is true, but like, this interview is crystal clear, more than any other interview. I've not seen much about them, by the way, so on him saying I can't really answer. So for example, one of the questions was, what do you think about the taxpayers saying they're paying all this or something? And he goes quiet. It's quiet. Go back to it. He's so quiet. And then he's really stressed at that moment. And then he says, what does he say? He answers something. I had the answer with me as well. He answers something that doesn't answer the question. Like it's like he goes quiet, and then his answer is not a solid, direct answer. So we are going to look at, I don't know why they still have their titles. I'm not for anyone feeling not part of a family, because it really does affect you. But he wants this, and he keeps pushing and pushing. And to be honest, I think the only reason they've not been stripped of their title is obviously there must be some formalities that they're going through, but it's taken too long. It could be like Charles, who's just like, it's my son, I can't do it even if I don't talk to him, etc. And worried about him, like if Charles is worried for when he passes, will his son be okay without kind of like a title that gives him some form of protection and weightiness. So I think that could be it. But I've done a global psychic predictions that I did at the very end of May after the major themes. You'll see it scheduled. And in this part 2, there's 3 parts. There's a part that you're going to see after scheduled already. There's a part that you should see scheduled for possibly tomorrow. And in that, I say about certain people in mid-May coming to a conclusion, a pivotal point. And one of the things was King Charles coming to a pivotal, painful, hurtful conclusion on something that I said could be in the public eye, or it could be to do with countries, but it could also be personally. And I'd also go back to my reading where I did on the royal family. You'll see some indication that could tie in with this, and we'll have to watch this space. So very insulting yet masking. There's a bit of delusion there, and I don't really understand his issue. But let's, apart from just wanting one foot in, one foot out, let's look at how he's feeling. He's really shown the trickery. He really does, still trying to show he's the victim of this outcome. Do you know what comes to mind is when he talks about King Charles and royal family, it's kind of like the abuser that I wrote, it came to me. The abuser that causes, that blames the victim. Yeah, that's what I feel. It's kind of like they're the abusers and they blame their victims. That is definitely, let's just say that again, the abusers that are blaming their victims. Told to look at the bottom of the first card out is the loss, right? And having to walk away feeling this loss. There's also hidden, is hiding his emotions and what he's truly feeling. Let's put the moon out anyway. There's a couple of cards here. I'm going to take the bottom one, which is the Queen of Wands, Meghan. Four of Cups. Magician. One more card. King of Wands. And Knight of Cups at the bottom, which I don't want to take. So here's Meghan, and he's not happy with the outcome. He is not in a good place. He is, there's manipulation here. But there's kind of like, I feel like they're thinking, there's a thinking of what am I going to do next? There's a thinking of like, there's a fire in him that I need to do something next. I don't think he's going to reappeal it, but it's kind of like, what's the next project? It's kind of like what a load of shit this is. And there's a bit of depression here as well. He's definitely feeling the loss. He's feeling the sensitivity of it. But there is a manipulation energy, and she's here in this energy as well. I think definitely the exposure to look like the victim and hidden motives here of the loss. And he mentioned the Queen, didn't he? But I really believe, and what I have had channeled, is that the Queen actually said before she left, certain scenarios, I've mentioned this in readings before, with Harry and Meghan, on what she would advise King Charles to do. So that could be another thing that comes into mind on certain things of, but that way of things. And I mean, it was very clear. She might say, if he came back, if we need to strip him of the title, if he doesn't come back, he tries to remain in touch, because he references the Queen with respect. It's like my grandmother, you know, she said we should have protection. But I do think she did say in different options and scenarios that might come up with those two, what she would advise to be done. So, and I don't think he's aware of that. He's so disconnected, but psychically, that's what I get. I've mentioned it in previous readings. So, I mean, it's good that he, and even if they divorce, I think she's given advice on that. And so I think there's something coming up his sleeves. Let's look at what's next for him, because I do feel like he might try to do some more interviews, but maybe in a sense that it's not necessarily directly linked to this subject matter, more so a different subject matter, but getting his opinions in. I think Meghan might end up doing a biography. I definitely think if they divorce, she's going to do a biography or a Netflix series or something. But he could do another book. I feel like it's more vocal with him, taking the opportunity to speak. But I do think that there's something that they're up to. So what's next for him? Interesting. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. So he is hoping for some form of reconciliation with his father. He is sulking at the moment. He's feeling down in the dumps, a victim. He is hoping for a reconciliation with his father. I do think that whatever he does right now, like that interview, I don't think he should have done it, is coming from a weakened position. So I don't advise he does anything for a few months to really absorb and try and wake up. But we'll have to see. He's not going to go away quietly. I really do feel that. So we've got this thing. He might play on something about, you know, with him being abroad, the world card, and he's definitely up for getting recognition at this moment in time. There is a defensive mode with William here, okay? There is that defensive energy with Prince William, and I think Prince William, I've mentioned it before, is just following what his father's probably doing to protect Harry, but I think Prince William is a bit more like cut time or something like that. So I think it's time they take their titles. And when they take the titles, he still has that that setup where if he wants to come to the UK, he applies for the security, or if he's invited, he has the security. It's funny, he said, I've only come to the UK for funerals or something else and the odd charity. Well, on those occasions, you're invited, so you have security, so what's your issue, you know? So I do see here there's definitely something in the works, but wherever he said about wanting a reconciliation, he does want that. And I think he's going to also play on those heartstrings with his father on that. So be interesting to see what comes out. Let's see Meghan, how she's supporting him. You know, it'll be interesting to see what they say in Meghan's chart, because I think she's got something that protects her, whether it's from like media going really, really bad where it affects her. She's protected in some way. There's like a destiny or symmetry, which means it could also protect Harry, but there's something about her that's quite shielded. Just check something. I just want to check something. Camera's running out of space, so I'll have to probably stop, delete something, come back on. I thought I had enough, I'd be done. But really, I'd love to know your insights, like so she's trying to look supportive towards him, but there is conflict there. She's feeling the conflict of this, the outcome of this. And again, I feel like it's kind of like, well, how are we going to provide for our children? Told to look at the top of the deck. Here she is. Yeah, so how are we going to provide for our children now? This could be like, you know, look what happened to your mom, the safety we need, especially for our kids. I feel like she's playing it more from the kids' side. She does feel there's a competition now, that there's this outcome. Like she's feeling there is a competition, kind of challenge that she wants to take on. She could be like replaying the past to him, but in like a lovey-dovey kind of way, but not from a mature woman way. She's doing it from something very like lusty kind of way to grab him. Like gentle, but then she's also throwing these daggers or indirect hints. After this, we're going to look at Prince William and the King's reaction. Yeah, and look at your brother. He's not done really much, and your system in the UK that has left us out in the cold. And we're not going to be protected. So, and a worry about the finances and the end to a means here, holding on to something. So that's how she's supporting him. Their cards are never like significant love cards. If you go back to the reading I did for the summer months, you'll see signs of what we're going through right now here, and similar cards coming up, nothing very strong. So now we're going to look at the King and then William, and then I'm going to look at something I saw pop up in terms of her in the title kind of thing. I wonder if the palace will release a statement. Usually they don't, but they might release something that just answers the outcome. You know, like, we've had 3 judges on this, we've not been involved, it's been assessed multiple times, even at the appeal, and just something very simple. I don't know, but usually they don't respond, so I don't think he's going to respond back to Harry like Harry did an interview. So let's look at Charles. Mic is on. The camera looks like it's gone into a different mode. I look quite big. King. Do check out that royal reading and the predictions that I've already recorded up. It's already with members. I feel like King Charles is going to be questioning himself, like, has he done right? What did he do wrong? Like, really questioning himself during this period, that interview, and also in May with some of the predictions that I got for him. I feel like he's really questioning himself right now. I don't think he wants to speak. Don't think it's something he wants to talk about. I think he's going to put a brave face on if he's seen in public to any attendance or something. I think he's just going to put a brave face on, but I do think it's triggered some trauma. Yeah, we've got the Star in reverse, so really a loss of hope on really getting this back together. In the reverse here is someone that kind of gives up. He's given up in terms of, it's funny, I keep getting choked when I want to speak. There's hurting. You know, this is him at the palace or wherever he is, really reflecting on him, reflecting on the monarch, the institution, him as a father at the home. But there's definitely a loss of hope and faith here, and a bit of a giving up. Maybe like things like, could I have done something differently? But then there is, I do think the palace will release a statement, because it's kind of here, but it's through someone, obviously. It's going to be a very clear cut statement that comes out here, probably from, I don't know, the assistant or someone. I was just wondering if he's watching anything online. He's not. But he does think that, you know, all this kind of, whatever Harry does now to really get in the spotlight again, is a done deal for him. He feels like it's gone beyond. Yeah, I feel like he feels his hands are tied. But at the same time, it's like he's put himself on his deathbed now. There's a means to an end with what Harry's going to do and what he said. Oh, I want to see what the palace actually do say. Let's look at this. I don't know, I feel for him. You shouldn't have to go through, you know, when you've got cancer, these things really impact you. It's a difficult month for him. Do check out the psychic predictions. Let's look at William. Can you guess what card? So we've got the Emperor taking a strong stance, okay? Looking after the monarch. Yeah, he's not emotionally connecting to this. I think he thinks that Harry is going to try and do something so that he gets recognized, etc. He is really looking at ways, and it could be advice if Harry takes the further steps on what could be done to, I don't mean silence him, that they X him or something, but calm any frenzy or stories that he does down. But he's very much in his kind of like his mode of, I'm not saying on his game to retaliate, I'm saying protect the monarch, protect this BS, and really just be clear cut in what I say, and also take time out before reacting to this. Look at the bottom of the deck, Three of Swords. I think it's gonna, I was gonna say this, I think it's gonna bring up some kind of hurt William's going to feel, because it's kind of rehashing a broken dynamic all the time, isn't it? It's hurtful. Like, even if he's disconnected from his brother, there's still an energy there that they've been through. Him and his brother won't understand the pain of losing their mother and other things. You know, kids, when at night they go to their rooms and stuff, they've got that little relationship that even if we think as parents we know them, etc., we don't. So they feel very close, and when that's broken, it's very hard. And especially when you feel like, you know, at one stage you might lose your parents before you go, if it's old age. So he's really feeling that, and he's feeling that there's manipulation, but he's feeling really tired at the same time. And he can also see how Harry is playing victim. Now let's look at Meghan. So I was, you know, obviously thinking doing this, and sometimes on my phone, you know, when it's locked at the bottom, like there'll be news bulletins that come up because I don't read the news. And it was like Meghan uses her HR court using her HRH title on several things and on a podcast. And she shouldn't be using that title. They shouldn't really have the Duchess or the Sussex that she keeps using anyway. She shouldn't be using Sussex. She shouldn't be using that the way she does it. So for me, do you know when you, sometimes I get spoken to, and some of you will feel it as well, and you give some advice or you state something, and unless you say your title or your profession or that you know your stuff, etc., people don't respect your opinion. Whereas someone approaches me with an opinion, even if I'm qualified or it's my field, etc., I just take it on, even if I don't agree with them, and I just don't respond. I just leave them to say whatever they want, like if they're trying to give advice. And that's the thing, is like, some people really need to understand, sometimes you're talking to someone that knows their stuff more than you. And I feel like she's using this title like leverage to be weighty, and that's wrong. Okay, she's using it to have that weighty feeling, that royalty, to be treated as a princess when she enters for the podcast, etc. But also leverage and weighty feeling, you know, like you go to see a doctor, or a doctor turns up and they're like, "Hi doctor, good morning," as opposed to "Hi Chrissy." And some people like that title, they've worked for it, they've earned for it, and she definitely does. But I think she's using it on purpose for weight, which is more than her name. Are you hearing this, Meghan? That's why you're using it, because it's more than your name, yet you're saying you don't want to be part of the Institute. And that's disingenuous. That also says that despite you thinking you have it all, that you still need that weight, that leverage. I think that's why she's doing it. So let's just pull some cards. We've got the Justice card here, so it's also like, if you look at the person on the throne, I'm going to interpret it that as opposed to the tarot meaning. It's for leverage, isn't it? It's for respect. It's for leverage. It's like, these are the you can say paupers, but I don't like using that word. And she's like, I've got this title that gives me the balance, the leverage, the weight of the scales. Exactly what I said. Yeah, I have my freedom. I can, you know, do what I want, canoodle around the garden, do what I want. There is definitely delusion and deception here, but she feels that the title also gains her weight and attraction for new projects and new things coming. And I think wherever she's been caught, it's something new as well. And I think she's doing it a lot more than where she's been caught. So that's interesting. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. I do want to hear from you, so let me know. I'm going to probably go back and watch that interview. I hate talking bad about people. I think, you know, even when I do like crime readings, if I feel like I have a difficult time, like where I see the pain of a soul, but you make your bed, you need to lay in it.